You could be larger than life, bigger than the world, living out the hopes and dreams of every boy and every girl. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You can have all you ever wanted. Hopes and dreams, every boy. You could fly higher than the sky, shine brighter than the stars. You could have all you ever wanted. You know you could.
Hello, as you know, I'm Alex Brooker, off the telly and that, innit? You may remember me from such shows as Channel 4's The Last Leg, and most recently 8 out of 10 Cats, in which I said nothing for the first 10 minutes, according to the edits, but I'm not bitter or anything. So, I thought I'd talk to you a little bit, mate. Sean, you were just ringing me, weren't you? You were crapping yourself thinking I wasn't here, weren't you? I sat at the back. Didn't want to make a show of myself. Look how worried you are. You're relieved. I'm not going to come all this way and then not turn up for the 20 minutes, am I? No faith. Anyway, so, if I tell you a little bit about myself and how I got in, somehow managed to get into the telly and that. So basically, I was born with, the word deformity is not my favourite word. I prefer to call it issues. I was born with both of my hands, they were like, well, they were a little bit like this. Not changed that much. It's not evolution. When I was born, my hands were both sewn together like that, and then I've had operations to split them across, give me an opposable thumb. Didn't work so much on my right hand, but I remember when the surgeon did, like when I was about 10 and he gave me the opposable thumb. And I remember, like, he was like, "Are you happy with it?" And I just said, "I can't help but feel this is a lot of effort to go through just so I can hold a pen." And he kind of smiled at me and looked at my dad, and then he smiled at him back. And then a few years later, I watched a video for Spice Girls Wannabe, and I knew exactly what he was talking about. Come on, it's not all those sort of innuendos, don't you worry. So yeah, I was also, I've doubled up, I've got a prosthetic leg as well. So yeah, I was born without a fibula, like one of the bones in my lower leg, and I had my mum and dad decided to have my right foot amputated when I was 13 months old. Got to bear in mind, this is like 1985, so the landscape's very different to what it is now, and in terms of technology and whatnot. But I'm sure, given the choice again, they'd make the same decision, and for one, I personally don't regret it because it got me on the telly. But I mean, you know, when I was growing up, my dad was always very realistic with me. You know, I remember being about, I don't know, probably about 7, and he kind of sat me down. He said to me, "Son, look, you're going to have to work hard at school." I was like, "Yeah, of course, it's a given." And he was like, "You know, because you're not going to be a builder or anything like that." I was like, "I mean, well, I'll take on board what you're saying there, Dad, but I can't help but feel you're giving me the wrong impression by buying me so much bloody Lego. I've had tool sets. I mean, I've just made an extension for the house out of stickle bricks. There's no good telling me now." But I wasn't, you know, he was very realistic, and, you know, my mum, as mums do, she wanted to mollycoddle me, she wanted to send me to a, like, disability specified school, and, like, kind of, you know, my dad overruled her on it, and I genuinely believe, you know, Mum gets upset when I say this, but I genuinely believe that I wouldn't be doing what I do now had I not kind of been pushed out there a little bit. You know, it's not always possible, but I was quite pushed out. I mean, I was very lucky. I'll probably say this quite a lot of times, but I was very lucky when I was at school because I didn't really get bullied, because fortunately for me, there were absolutely loads of ginger kids. Oh, the free lunches, even I got some out of them. I mean, we would pound them. But there were loads of ginger kids. Kent's an absolute haven for them. It was brilliant. So, you know, I know, genuinely, I didn't really get, I never really got bullied at school, and I went to like an all-boys, you know, like a secondary school as well, so like, you know, my mum and dad were pretty worried about that. I mean, I was worried about it for different reasons. I was worried about the fact that, there weren't no girls there, to be honest with you, and even more so by the fact that I wouldn't be in an educational atmosphere with women from the age of 11 to 18. That's a lot of development that I missed out on. But they made the choice, and I trotted off to an all-boys school, and it was good, I mean, I used to have questions, but I mean, they're all quite intelligent lads, and it was a grammar school, so they kind of, it was a bit harsh, and they kind of took on board what I said, and it was good. Like, I had a good school life. I mean, on my first day at secondary school, I went there, and it was like there was a swimming pool, and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. There's a swimming pool at my school. This is unbelievable. And then we had a swimming lesson. The first morning of school, I was thinking, oh, I've hit the jackpot here. Get into the swimming pool, and then I see a canoe. And I was thinking, oh, canoeing. First day of school, and we are doing canoeing. My life will never get better than this. And then I got put in the canoe. It's brilliant. Then he put some armbands on me. Alarm bells started ringing once the armbands were introduced, I must say. They started ringing even more when I didn't see an oar in sight anywhere, and I was just left floating in the canoe. The alarm bells rang even more when I saw the rest of the class doing lengths at the other end of the pool, and I was just spinning in the breeze in an orange canoe in armbands. The only time this stopped was when my mate turned around to the games teacher and he said to him, "Why is Alex in the canoe?" And he said to him, "Well, Tom, I mean, he can't swim, and I want to include him." He was like, "Well, he can swim further than me." He was just like, "Haven't you seen the badges on his shorts?" And he was just like, "Oh, crap." So he came over. I mean, listen, I had a quick look at my crotch. Wasn't that sort of school. Wouldn't be this cheerful if it was. So he had a little look at me, little eye up, and saw my credentials. When I wrote this down, this story did not sound like this. And he chucked me in the pool, and I carried on. But that was like one of the very few kind of misconceptions that I had at school. And it's all like, I mean, the only time I kind of struggled at school was when I started doing like GCSE exams and A-levels. And it kind of, I wasn't finishing these exams. I was absolutely I was hammering away at them, and I just was not finishing these exams. And it was only after I'd done all of my GCSEs, then I did my AS levels, and I got rubbish marks in them. That was because I didn't revise. But they kind of had a look at it, and they were like, "Well, what's going on here?" And they were like, we can't help but notice that you've not finished like 60% of your exams." I was like, "Well, no, I'm struggling with them, to be honest." And they're like, "Did you know you could have extra time?" I was like, well, no, actually, I did not know that I could have extra time. If I would have known, then do you not think I may have taken this extra time? I mean, I've been sitting here, and my left hand has not hurt this much since we went from dial-up to broadband at home. Because I did lots of homework. I did loads, because it was quick on the internet. So, I managed to rectify this situation, and, with the extra time, which was eventually given to me, I managed to get myself a couple of A-levels under my belt. I'll be honest with you, I can say this here, this is an open forum. In my last business studies exam, I hadn't finished the exam, and I had to save it onto a disc. And even with my extra time, I hadn't finished. And the teacher went and took the disc, and I thought, I'm going to carry on typing here. So I carried on typing, tucked another 100 words, quickly bashed them out. Then I called him and said, "I don't think I saved it right." So he's come back, and I saved the extra 100 words on there. Does that mean my A-level business study is void? Probably. But on that exam, I got 100%. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I was given the school award for business studies. And I went and I accepted that award, and I had no shame whatsoever. And they are so proud of me that they've got me back this year to give out the same award to somebody new. And they have no idea how much I screwed the system over. But sod it, I deserve it. I've doubled up, I've got the hands and I've got the leg. I've doubled up, and that always helps when you play blue badge top trumps. Because you get out of a car, I've had this before, you get out of a car in Tesco, and somebody will be like, "Whoa, well, should you really be parking there? I was like, hang on a minute, my good man. Not only do I have these mitts, I also have the leg. I bet you feel bad. And on this one occasion, the bloke turned around, because I kind of swore at him, the bloke turned around and went to me, no mate, you're going to feel bad. Undone the back of the car and had a lift which had a little boy in a power chair. And I was like, oh. Top trumps, blue badge. Brilliant when you win, you feel like crap when you lose. So let him go down the other end, the boy sat down anyway. You don't hear this on the last leg, do you? Adam and Alex are like doing all this with disability. We're not, we're horrible. So I went to university. I always wanted to be a football writer. I decided at an early age I wanted to be a football journalist. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be paid to watch football. And the way I saw it is the leg was kind of hindering my ability to become a professional footballer, and the fact also that I was a little bit chubby, which has nothing to do with the leg. But yeah, it kind of, I decided that I'd go into the writing and I'd just get paid to do it that way. So I kind of really, you know, got my head down, went to Liverpool John Moores to do journalism. And that was great. Like, you know, university was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. I kind of really immersed myself into it. I remember a lot of my mates thought that I would stay near home. No chance. Like, I've seen the girls in Ashford and Kent. Not for me, thank you very much. It was not, you know, it was bad. I mean, so much so that once somebody came up to me in my hometown, they said to me, do you mind if I ask, like, what happened to your hands? I was like, no, not of course. And he went, then he followed it up by going, was it a wild animal? Thinking, Jesus Christ, man, this is Kent. This is not the Serengeti. The only wild animals are the birds that are left in Yates's at 3 a.m. And I ain't going near them. I'm off to Liverpool. So off to Liverpool I went. And in my first year at university, I learnt this very one important lesson, which everyone should abide by, young or old. If you meet a girl and she's taking you back to her house, do not stop at your house to get an overnight bag. Because she will think you are weird and she will not see you again. And I found that out the hard way. Yes, I came home with a clean t-shirt and socks, but my dignity was left in that bag. It was horrible. So there's a lesson for everyone. I told you it's for educational. So, you know, I did a degree, and to be honest with you, again, I am extremely lucky in the sense that my disabilities actually don't really, in terms of like everyday life, they don't really restrict me that badly. I mean, I can type very quickly, you know, I can write and so on and so forth, and you know, I am very lucky. So I was able to immerse myself into university life kind of seamlessly, and I never really needed any special. I mean, yeah, I got a free laptop, which I then flogged on eBay. I've got a couple of them actually. But other than the free laptops, which I then flogged, I didn't need too much help, so it was easier for me. And and I never really felt conscious. Whenever I got rejected by women, I didn't think, it can't be the hands and legs, I mean, because I've got a lovely face, so it can't be that. But what is it? I just realised that I couldn't talk to women. I was terrible at it, and I was doing stupid stuff, like getting overnight bags on the way home. Disabled or not, women don't like that. So I kind of, I came out of university very I mean, I got a 2-2, and it wasn't the best degree, but I didn't try as hard as what I should have thought. I actually did a talk at John Moores this week, and I said that, and the lecturers are just like, why have we got this guy in? Which I'm sure you lot are thinking at the moment. If you will pick people up at parties, Sean, then this is what you get, unfortunately. So, I came out of university, I worked for Liverpool, I got to do some good stuff, I was a junior football writer, and I was very lucky. I got to do loads of cool stuff, go to loads of games, and then I got a job as a full-time journalist at the Press Association, and that was great. And going into my working life, I never really had like a difficulty as a journalist. They didn't really mind, because I was up to speed with my typing and stuff. So on deadline, I was okay. That was a big thing for a journalist, and I was very fortunate that that was the way. But then I fell out of love with sports journalism. I mean, I love the North, but I don't want to spend my Tuesday night watching Carling Cup football in Doncaster. I mean, it is hard to type in mittens. I can tell you that now. It was bleak, so bleak. So I kind of thought to myself, I want to do something else. I want to do something else. I need to do something else. So I wanted to go into PR, and I kept getting told that, that they didn't think I'd be able to communicate with a mass audience. I mean, it's only 11 million people that watched the opening ceremony of the Paralympics, but it's by the by. Obviously, they knew what they were doing. Not bitter about it. So yeah, I got loads of rejection letters, and I got rejected from Sky Sports as well. I got down to the last two to be like a trainee on Sky Sports News, and I thought that was my into television, and it never worked out, and I never for a second thought that was down to my disability. It's mainly down to the fact that the other lad had done a TV degree and I did print journalism, so I never put it down to that. But yeah, I needed something, and then PA sent me, there was one of these Paralympics GB did a talent ID day, and it was kind of, they said, oh, you should go along and you should report on it and you should try out all the sports. And I was like, yeah, go on then. So I got into my head that I'd be brilliant at table tennis. Don't know why. I mean, it's not the most obvious sport for me to choose, but I decided that was going to be the one for me. And I went there and I tried all these sports. I tried the table tennis, and I got to the final of this tournament, and I lost to a guy with two hands, fully normal hands, and he just happened to have a prosthetic leg. And I was like, I can't help but feel this isn't a fair matchup. And I only lost by a point. And worse than that, he was Swedish. And he was getting over. It's like the England football team at the moment, trying to get people who've been in the country for a while to play for them. It was ridiculous. So I lost him, and I was on my way out, and then my ex said to me, she's like, oh, come on, go and try the shooting. I was like, oh, go on then, I'll try it. And I can honestly say that of everything I've ever done, shooting is the best I've ever been at any one single thing so quickly. I was so good at it. I mean, literally I was hitting 10 rings, and then they were begging me to come to the next stage and, train with them, and they took me along, and Press Association, they said to me, you go, we'll give you time off. They were paying me to go down there because they thought it was good for the company's profile. And it was brilliant. And, shooting's a hard sport. I mean, I'm not going to make any jokes about people with prosthetic legs and shooting, contrary to what some people might think. But, you'll think about that and you'll get it in a minute. But, I was brilliant at the shooting, and they kept me on. But this is when things turned for me. See, all my life I've been a confident man, never had any problems, never once. Until I started training with the Great Britain Paralympic shooting team. And it was the first time in my life that I have been around nothing but disabled people. That was literally, you couldn't move for us. We were knocking about everywhere. Every corner, they were all had guns. I couldn't help but think it was so strange. But everyone, and I became suddenly extremely conscious. And I couldn't pinpoint why. I was 24, 25, so I've been through school. Been through two mainstream schools, been through university, had girlfriends, and genuinely I became so conscious, and I lost all of my confidence instantly within the space of about, I'd say, a fortnight, literally a fortnight. I'd been with a girl for a year. We split up within 2 weeks of me starting that shooting because my confidence went, I wasn't the same. I mean, it was pretty harrowing, and I genuinely, once I quit the team because I became so conscious of myself. It was horrible, and I was thinking, this isn't me. And then I started thinking, has this been an act all my life? Am I really quite upset about it all? And you start asking yourself all these questions, and you think you've got it, you know yourself, in your own mind, and it certainly wasn't the case. And I remember, I put myself into counselling, and I remember telling my dad about it, and he was going to me, I don't understand this, son, I don't. He was like, all your life, why now? Why at this age? He was like, me and your mum expected this when you were maybe 8, 9, 14, 15, 16, never now. What is going on? And he genuinely couldn't get his head around it. He was like, this is silly talk. And it was a hard time in my life, but for those it was 8 weeks when I was in counselling, and it was kind of strange, and we kind of got to the bottom of it, and why I felt so conscious about myself and stuff like that, and I remember the guy saying, you should keep on seeing someone, and I chose not to because I felt a little bit better about myself, and I went on like a lad's holiday. That made me feel even better about myself because Crash is full of English women. It's surprising. It's actually mint, and they're all so drunk. It's great. But it kind of turned around for me, and then from leaving the shooting team, and I look back now, given the job I do, especially now, given what I've done in the last year, yes, I look back and I am a little bit ashamed to say, that was my opinion. But on the flip side of it, it's kind of given me what I've got now, my viewpoint on life that I have now. So, while, yes, I'm ashamed, and I've never hidden it. I always talk about it in interviews, even though I remember when Channel 4 introduced us all, I'll go to Channel 4 in a second, when Channel 4 introduced us all the new trainees, and, I told that story to a room full of journalists, and they were just like, and it was kind of like, well, you didn't need to go all in on the first interview you've ever done, Alex. So I was like, well, I might as well say it now. So then, that's it. But I don't believe that I'd have been able to go into Channel 4 like I did do. And it was really strange because I quit the shooting team in July, and then in November I auditioned for Channel 4, and I remember seeing the advert, and it said, Channel 4 are looking for disabled people, so there's one box. We're looking for people with a sporting background, ideally in the Paralympic sport, so there's number 2. And it was like, and then the third one, it was, we're looking for people with journalism backgrounds. Like, I've got the hat trick. I'm absolutely bang on in here. Literally, I don't know that many of us. This is pretty niche. They might have just written, hi Alex, can you please apply for this job by the 10th of November, please? So I applied, and even then I was unsure. I was thinking, is this right for me? Do I want to go on telly? And is it going to be one of those? Is it going to be that worthy stuff, which I'll talk about in a minute? And it's going to be the worthy disability programming where everyone's having a hard time, and it's like it's depressing, and you watch it and you feel like you want to punch yourself in the face and stuff like that afterwards. And I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But I kind of went along anyway, and I auditioned. I was, pleased with the audition video. My mate helped me do it, and then they took us along to a boot camp, and we auditioned for another 5 days, and it was hard. Channel 4, they made no bones about it that they were gonna, yes, they wanted presenters with disabilities, but you had to be you had to be good. You had to be by the time the Paralympics come around, you had to be ready, or else you will get cut. And we got told that frequently. We went through the training, and they sent me to ITV for 3 months, and yeah, they invested in us, but the training was hard. People think that I just stumbled into television. Yeah, I did, but I was sat there, and it was like every day, it's like, this is crap, you're crap, this is rubbish, you've got to do this again, do it again, do it again. And they trained me for 2 years to be a reporter, and I remember I quit Channel 4 as well. I ditched it because I just thought, I'm a journalist, I'm not being criticised. Didn't like criticism, so I quit Channel 4 in probably June 2011. So just a year off the Paralympics, and then they got me back in November. And they were like, look, we've got a tournament, we've got a judo tournament, which we want you to cover. And they're like, it's blind judo. I was thinking, you're not really selling this to me. I don't know, I know a bit about disabilities, but I don't know what this will be like as a spectator sport. So I went, and I went along to the blind judo, and they kind of said to me before, I remember the guy who was training me went to me, just to let you know, I still don't think you're ready for live television. I was like, motivational. He's like, and also as well, I've seen the list for Channel 4 next year, and you're not on it. I was like, brilliant. This has really fired me up. This is like one of Roy Hodgson's half-time team talks for England. And it was just like, right then. So, but that changed everything, and that one single comment is why I'm doing television now, because when I did the judo, I treated it like it was the last thing I would do on television. So I just had a laugh with it, and I had lived, and I stopped being this formal version of myself that I'd been trained to be, and I just thought, sod it, I'll just basically say what I want. And it was reckless, but it paid off because they loved it. And then they got me back in. And then, you know, I remember the way I got into last week, I was trained to be a five-a-side football reporter. That's what I was going to be. I was going to be a pitch-side reporter. They trained me for 2 years, day in, day out, to do that. I did 1 day of reporting at the Paralympics. 1 single day. It just so happened that it was the opening ceremony with the Prime Minister, and I remember like being told, look, you're going to be interviewing Boris Johnson 20 minutes into the opening ceremony being interviewed. I was thinking, no, that'll be all right. I've got my 3 questions sorted. It's a minute and a half. How bad can it go wrong? I was all prepared for it. Then I got told about half hour before we went on air, you're interviewing the Prime Minister first up. You're the first of all of the new talent up to the plate. And it was just like, I puked. I went to the toilet and I was sick everywhere. And what made that worse is that being on the concourse where we were at the Olympic Stadium, the nearest toilet was a disabled toilet. I came out of it, and there's a guy in a wheelchair waiting to go in. So I strolled out of this toilet. I went to him, you might want to give that about 10 minutes, mate, to be honest with you. And he was like, well, do you know where the next one is? And I didn't even think when I said this, and I went, downstairs. How did I end up on the Paralympic programming after that comment? I'm sure he was watching thinking, there's that prick in the toilet before me. So yeah, I did the interview with the Prime Minister. I remember talking to him shortly before, and I kind of basically said to him, look, I'm going to ask you 3 extremely easy questions. You are going to give me 3 extremely easy answers, and we will both come out of this looking good. And that is exactly pretty much what happened. I mean, he really did sort me out, Dave. I mean, he's not done too well by us since. I mean, you know, he's here talking about Paralympic legacy, and it's like, do some more cuts to benefits and that, won't we? It's just like, you slimy git. But he did give me a good interview. For that, I thanked him. And his previous regime got me a Nissan Qashqai, and for that, I thank them. Bloody love that car. Anyway, so, you know, I remember going into the last leg, and I was only ever meant to be on the last leg for the first 5 minutes, and I was going to be the reporter after it. And the reason I got onto last leg is because I just so happened by chance to meet the bloke who ended up being the producer of it, and he was working at ITV when I was there, and I made him laugh a couple of times. And then when he got the last leg show, he was like, oh, you'd be great in this, like, you should come along and you meet Adam. And it was like, I mean, when me and Adam first went for dinner, I've never had like a mate with a prosthetic leg the same as mine. I mean, you know, when I went to the Olympic Centre, when I was a kid, there were no other kids knocking about. Like, I was the youngest one, you know, I'm just sort of sat there on my own, like looking around like the waiting room. It's just like Saving Private Ryan, isn't it? It's just like, I mean, it's a lot to take in for a kid. But then I got met Adam, and like, we started talking about legs, and he's just like, oh, what one have you got? And then I'm taking it off and showing, like, oh, this is what I've got. And then they kind of walked in, they were like, you two should do that on telly. And then we were like, oh, all right then, fair enough, I mean, this is easy. So we kind of, that's what we spoke about in this pilot, and then they kept me on, and I was very, very lucky that, you know, I managed to get on so well with Adam, and then kind of Josh came in, and I mean, he's great. I love the fact that everyone thinks he's disabled. People go like, oh, you're that guy from us, you got that Aussie guy, and then there's the, what's the other one got wrong with him? Absolutely love it. The amount of tweets we get in about that, he gets so annoyed. I don't know what you mean. Unbelievable. I love Josh's voice. Hold the fort, Maureen, I'm off to the Old Bailey. That is my Josh Widdicombe impression. I've done that on his DVD thing for this Christmas. That'll be a surprise for him. But yeah, the last leg was great, and the best thing about it is because I started my counselling, what was it, like maybe May 2010, and I finished it in those 9 days I was on that show. Because I got to talk about stuff I've never talked about before. And the fact that it was on telly was neither here nor there, because I felt so comfortable about it. And I was there, and we're talking about one-night stands and stuff that disabled people do. It's not really that much different to everyone else. I mean, obviously, not advocating that sort of behaviour, of course, but that's just one very bad example, which I wish I hadn't have had written on my paper in front of me. But it was great, and you know, and I got to talk about the stuff that has happened to me, the stories, you know. God, like, you know, falling asleep. My missus always goes to me, "Oh, you were drunk last night, weren't you? You fell asleep with your leg on." And I was just like, I mean, if that's a barometer for you on how drunk I am, love, I mean, you're getting pretty easy. I mean, my mate was sick on his missus the other day. I mean, I've just managed to stay, like, with all of my limbs. I mean, you're not doing too badly. But she, yeah, it was great, and I loved doing the show, and it really took off, and I was so happy because we got to do something that I don't think had been done on telly before. I've never really seen disability talked about like we did it. You know, we got the Is It Okays in, and yes, some of them were ridiculous. I mean, there was one Is It Okay, which was, is it okay to hit the person in the wheelchair if they're being a knob? Now, bearing in mind, this was live on television, and I just went, well, yeah. And then I didn't say anything else straight away. And then we kind of discussed it, and it was just like, yeah, I mean, like, within reason, I mean, if it's your friend and stuff like that, and, you know, if it's banter, we kind of said, don't advocate violence. You see the Daily Mail the next day, Channel 4, it's okay to hit a person in a wheelchair. It's like, you slimy gits, right? That was not what was said. It's like, yeah, Alex Brooker said, yeah, hit him if they're being a knob, go for it. It's just like, didn't say that at all. So, I mean, we had some funny, we had another Is It Okay. My favourite Is It Okay we have ever had, which I can say in this room now, is it okay for me to chop my right hand off so I can go to the 2016 Paralympics in Rio? So, I mean, I don't think, if you turn up in Rio, just show your right hand missing. I don't think, they don't just give you a sport, that's not how this works. It's like, well, I mean, fuck it, I mean, we could do it with a swimmer. Go over there, mate. It's like, not how it works, but someone genuinely asked that. Some knob actually asked that. And I loved it because we got to answer it and people saw it, and the Paralympics inspired me, the same as anybody else. I mean, I watched it and I felt lazy. I felt like I wasn't making the most of my body and stuff like that. And it was great, and I can honestly say that 9 days, when I finished, I mean, people talk about this Paralympic legacy and giving the public an understanding of disability, and yes, it did. And I like the fact that so many more people than ever, more children than ever got to see disability, and it was kind of, you know, that was great. I mean, I appreciate that not every disabled person can be a Paralympian, so there's more work to be done, but it was great to see it done on that day. But I think that the impact that no one else talks about is the impact I think that the Paralympics had on disabled people themselves. Because it certainly had an impact on me. I'm sure I can't be the only one to have looked at it and thought, like, I feel quite good about myself. You know, I can honestly say that when I finished those 9 days, that was the best I'd ever felt about myself. And I, you know, when I went into television, I was very dubious, would I succeed? And I genuinely, by the time we'd finished that show, after spending 9 days with Adam, talking to him like I did, I thought, I'm over this now. Like, this is now me. I'm now what? I was 28, and I was like, finally, like, I've kind of better now, late than never. I finally reached, you know, reached where I want to be with how I feel about myself, and it's taken me long enough. Yeah, there were some hard times, but I mean, it's all right to do it on the telly. I mean, it's brilliant being on telly, honestly. You do a show and you look afterwards at Twitter and it's all women. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, you do a couple of jokes. I mean, I'm not even, I'm a lovely looking guy, but I'm not the best looking. But I mean, you do a couple of jokes on TV and they go crazy for it. It's amazing. I can say that because my missus isn't in the room until later on. But I absolutely love it. Television's brilliant. It's such a confidence boost. And it's, you know, and I love doing the last leg, and I've been very fortunate that I've managed to keep going and stuff like that and keep growing in confidence. And luckily our show, you know, we still get to talk about disability. I mean, you can't hide it when there's me and Adam there, and also Josh, who looks a bit autistic, but when there's me and Adam there, we can't hide it. It will always be that, even though it's now about news and some people are like, oh, you don't talk about it enough, but I think we do a decent enough job of it, and like, long may it continue. And you know, Channel 4 have backed me. They said, you know, they keep me on for a year. They've just given me another 1 year contract, and they put me on all their shows, and it's brilliant. Like, a lot of people, the best thing about the job that I do now is that I get a lot of people, like disabled people, come up to me and they're like, oh, it's great to see you on telly. Like, you don't care. That's the same as the rest of us. I was like, yeah, I know. You needed somebody to go on TV and do it, and if it just so happened to be me or someone else, then it's better late than never. And I think that's that's the case where we're at now. I love the fact that I get to go on programmes like 8 out of 10 Cats. You know, when I was young, you didn't have people going on like, I don't know, They Think It's All Over or something like that. Other panel shows just didn't happen. And that's a big change. And it was like, it should have happened years ago. It's happened now. I'm very proud. It's my greatest achievement. That and passing my driving test. That was pretty good. And also the other day I passed a really difficult level on the new Grand Theft Auto game. But in no particular order, that portrayal of disability on television is my greatest achievement. I find it very difficult to see how I will be able to better that. And that's quite a sombering thought, actually. Crap. But you know, like, it's great, and you know, Sean collared me at Channel 4 when I was boozed up, and she was just like, do you want to join my charity? And I was thinking, no. Like, do you want a photo, love? Because, like, if not, like, I've got better things to be doing. She goes, she's slurring her words, do you want to be on my charity? No, I don't know. But luckily, like, she persisted, and I was very happy to be asked to do it, because again, when I was younger, I didn't have a support network like this. I wasn't a member of anything like that, and yeah, I mean, I went into mainstream school, but it would have been nice. I think it probably would have prevented what I went through a few years later on down the line, and it's great, and I'm happy to. I love the charities that I do are all for disabled children and stuff like that, because I think that's important. Again, I didn't have that when I was younger, and that's what I want to do. I want to give that back. I want disabled kids to look and not feel a bit out of place. You know, it's just one part of a person. It's like having a big nose, isn't it? I mean, it's not ideal. I mean, you'd probably get it corrected if you had a chance, but it's part of you, and that's who you are. And it's like, what you do with your life is the important thing. How you do it, like, but as long as, you know, you're happy in yourself, I think that's the biggest thing to overcome. As soon as you're happy in yourself, no one else will care. That's the way I see it sometimes. You know, I sometimes worry about, but like, it's not finished for me. I'm getting old. I'm nearly 30 next year. But, you know, I want to have kids. I want to have horrible little obnoxious chav kids who support Arsenal. That's what I want. Who talk like me and have the same hair as me. And they gob off the same as me. That's the children I want. Horrible little gits. But, of course, I worry, you know, my girlfriend's sister's just had a baby. And, you know, I'm holding this baby, and I suddenly became very conscious. Now, I know I have it within my physical capabilities to hold a baby, but it was very much accentuated when I did it. And I kind of got very conscious, and she says to me, you're a worrier, like, what are you going to be like when we have kids? And I can honestly say, I don't know. I mean, again, that's something that I've still got to go through. So just because I'm doing all right on the telly now, doesn't mean that, you know, I'm right in my confidence now, doesn't mean it won't change. I can't say that for definite, but I'll probably be kind of doing my best, basically. And, you know, I'm very proud of what I've done with my life so far. I wouldn't have changed one single thing, even the bad stuff. But, you know, it's, again, you know, I've got a lot more to do, so who knows? There you go, that's my lot. Cheers. Questions?
Well, what I was going to say was we've got to go on with the AGM, so you're going to be around this evening as well.
Yeah, I'll be around. I'll be knocking about this evening. I'll do some more jokes this evening as well for you.
You need to lie down again now. You can have a little one.
I'm actually going to get my haircut, pal. That is exactly what I'm doing. I've got a haircut booked at 4 o'clock. I was going to say, if you've got any questions, make them quick. But there you go.
But even better here than on the telly. It was absolutely fantastic.
Lovely. Thanks a lot for having me. Thank you.